Oluwafunmilayo Chinonye Samuel is a development scholar and PhD researcher whose work focuses on the intersection of politics and sustainable development. She examines food systems transformation in Africa through a political economy lens, with particular interest in how governance, power relations, and institutional dynamics shape sustainable outcomes. Her research is driven by a deep commitment to advancing Africa's development and reshaping the continent's narrative in global policy spaces. She previously served as an African Young Women Leaders Fellow within the United Nations Development Programme in Lesotho, working within the Strategic Policy Unit under the UNDP AUC 1 Million Next Level initiative. In this role, she contributed to the extended National Strategic Development Plan, supported the rollout of the SDG Investor Maps, and engaged in youth-centered innovation programs that strengthened national development efforts. Oluwafunmilayo holds an MSc in Rural Development from the Erasmus Mundus Joint Masters Program, where she graduated summa cum laude after completing studies in Belgium, Slovakia, and Italy. She also earned a first-class honors degree in agriculture from the University of Ilorin, Nigeria. Her master's thesis, developed within the FAO's agroecological framework, reassessed a Nigerian agricultural policy for small-scale farmers and proposed evidence-based redesigns to improve poverty alleviation outcomes. With strong analytical and research skills, including proficiency in R, SPSS, Python, and NVivo, she bridges evidence generation with policy design to address complex development challenges. Her work reflects a passion for empowering women and youth and promoting sustainable, inclusive transformation across Africa. Outside her academic and professional pursuits, she enjoys cycling, music, reading biographies, and exploring nature. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you your distinguished guest, Oluwafunmilayo Chinonye Samuel.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much once again for joining. Thank you, PM. Our PM is Chidima, who opened for us. Thank you so very much. And I'll go straight into it because, as Ayo said, I'm just here to water the ground so that you can hear from our main keynote speaker for today, Mr. Elijah Taidi. So I'm going to go back to the Mentimeter because that is really the brunt of where my talk to you tonight is going to come from. So the title of what I'm speaking on is the reality of transition. And here I love how honest you have been with your answers. One word that captures how you feel after NYSC. I love your optimism for the person who is optimistic. And if you haven't responded yet, you can still respond in the chat. On the Mentimeter, you will see the link in the chat. And another person says uncertain, anxious, lost, indifferent. Okay, I think that's interesting. Confused. And what this webinar is about, I see more coming. I can't explain. Yes, Nigeria is a wonderful place to be in at this time. I can't explain. And the first thing that we want you to know this evening is that all of these feelings, whatever you're feeling at this point, is valid. I remember my transition journey. I finished university in 2019. And I remember also not knowing what was going to come next for me at that point. I didn't know. Then I used to say something that I didn't have a picture of the future. I didn't know what career pathway did I want to take. So I was just, I remember at that point, I was just there, fixed in one sport. And I think what shook me out of that was one day, one of my colleagues just called me randomly and was like, what are you doing now that you're finished school and you're done with your service year? What next? What are you doing? And honestly, I wasn't doing anything at that point. I was just waiting for the next thing to come. And she asked me, she was like, have you prepared your CV? Are you applying for jobs? Are you looking out for opportunities? And I was like, no. Then I had a small job that I was doing then. And I was like, no, I'm not doing any of that. And I remember what that did for me was it broke me out of that laxity. And then I began to think about what I needed to do. And that changed a lot of things for me going forward. I began to prepare my CV, for example. I began to really think. I began to really ask questions. I began to really position myself to say, okay, what next? I began to enter into this space of mind that made me realize that I was the driver of what was going to come next. It wasn't just going to fall into my laps. It wasn't just going to come out of nowhere, but I was going to be the driver of that. And transitions are times of uncertainty. I see more coming in uncertainty, confusion, because there are so many pathways, you know, depending on what you studied, sometimes you don't even know if you want to work in that line. And tonight, I want you to know that it is okay to feel that way. It is normal to feel that way. But tonight, what we are bringing to you is that, yes, it's okay to feel that way, but there's a way out of that space. And that's what our keynote session is going to be about. There's a way out of that space. There is a kind of mindset, that we have that brings us out of that space. And it's not a sudden thing, no, but it is a kind of spark that spurs you on to begin to take action, that spurs you on to begin to see things differently, that spurs you on to begin to see things differently beyond the system that you find yourself in, beyond the uncertainties that surround the environment where you are. So, like I said, I'm here to wet the ground and I'm here to reassure you that your feelings are valid. But tonight, our keynote is for you to know what next to do, where next to go, what mindset to have, what actions you need to take. And I think with that, I will close out on this session. Thank you very much. And welcome again to the POST-NYSC Career Compass webinar series.